Warner Brothers won't release a cut of Justice League that never existed in the first place.
It's no joke. It is right on the money. It never existed.
The Snyder Cut, that like imaginary unicorn that you guys think is out there, yeah, that doesn't exist.
I understand the desire for the fan base to see whatever Zack Snyder would have done, but it's an impossibility. And
yeah, the people that think that a Snyder Cut exists are just woefully ignorant to how movie productions work.
It don't exist. It really does not.
And they want the Zack Snyder Cut, which probably doesn't exist.
Many months later.
When will you release the Snyder Cut?
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. It's a hard question. I don't know. What do you think, Henry?
I reckon you should show it.
We're doing it, so get ready.
Oh my God.
The Snyder Cut of Justice League is real. And it's still crazy for me to say that, because after almost 3 years of fans crying out for Warner Brothers to release Zack Snyder's infamous cut of the legendary DC film, the project will finally see the light of day in 2021. And it's been a long road to get here, especially after years of people calling it a myth, people calling it fake, and a pipe dream. But now, that dream becomes a reality. To some, it's a win for artistic freedom, where the vision of a director will finally be realized over corporate meddling. To others, it's rewarding what is perceived to be an entirely toxic fandom and an obsession that people should have moved on from years ago. Personally speaking, I wouldn't call it entirely toxic. At its core, however, is one man who simply wants to show his vision for DC Comics' most famous team. And that in itself is the most important thing about all of this. Flashback with me to May 2017. Zack Snyder was hard at work on putting together Justice League when an unthinkable tragedy happened. Snyder's daughter Autumn had committed suicide. Now this led Snyder to making the decision to step down from his Justice League duties to be with his family and properly mourn. Now in the same Hollywood Reporter article that broke this news, it was revealed that Warner Brothers, and apparently Zack Snyder, had chosen Joss Whedon, director of The Avengers, to finish Justice League, which included overseeing Snyder's planned reshoots. Now, conflicting information began to surface regarding Whedon's role on the film and just how much he was involved in. One day, the trades would say that Whedon is simply finishing the movie, adhering to Snyder's vision, while other reports would say that he's rewriting huge chunks of it, around 80% in fact. Factor in the rumors about how Henry Cavill's Mission Impossible Fallout mustache would be handled during these reshoots, and the fact that apparently the film couldn't be longer than 2 hours, Warner Brothers had quite the project on their hands. On November 17, 2017, it happened. Fans everywhere packed into theaters to see what Warner Brothers had cooked up in their cinematic lab, and to keep a long story short, it was quite shocking, obviously. Comparing the film being shown on the big screen to the first couple of trailers that were released, it was clear that Justice League had been changed drastically, and the fears that WB and Whedon had tampered with Snyder's vision became a reality. Critically, the film fared slightly better, but fans made their displeasure known as the film became the lowest grossing DCEU film at the time. Now since that fateful day, people online had been calling for the release of the Snyder Cut, which was apparently Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. The one that delved into the rich history of DC Comics, continued the story arc that began with Man of Steel. Now, as I said above, the community had been called nearly everything in the book, from toxic to dedicated, weirdly obsessed, but at its core, fans simply wanted WB to do right by Snyder. Members of the Justice League cast and crew began to show support for the Snyder Cut's release, including Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa.
We're just sitting around doing nothing. Fucking release the Snyder Cut, am I right?
Steppenwolf actor Ciarán Hinds, Batman's Ben Affleck, Wonder Woman herself Gal Gadot, and Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg in the film. Flash forward almost 3 years after Justice League's initial release, and the dream has finally become a reality. Zack Snyder's Justice League will finally debut on HBO Max in 2021. Now the film will now be a 4-part miniseries with hour-long episodes. Characters that were once removed, such as Darkseid, Desaad, Cyborg's mother, will now return. Lore that was thought to be unnecessary will be edited back in. And finally, best of all, Superman's stupid, deformed face will no longer exist. But what exactly am I trying to say here then? I'm sure you all knew this already, it's all over Twitter. So, for my first video essay, because I've never done one of these before, I'd like to put forth one simple argument. Regardless of how you feel about Zack Snyder as a director, the release of his cut of Justice League is something we should cheer for, in that it is a humongous win for storytellers and artistic freedom. Yes, you heard that right. This is a win for artistic freedom. It doesn't actually matter what direction you are looking at this situation from, whether you think it's rewarding toxic fans, or Snyder finally getting his way, or even Warner Max and HBO Max and AT&T looking for a cash grab. When it comes to Zack Snyder's Justice League, this is a win for cinema, art, and storytelling. What so many people don't seem to realize is that something like this, it's never happened before. This is not like fans complaining about Star Wars The Last Jedi, which I love, or Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker and how those two films turned out, or wanting HBO to redo Game of Thrones Season 8, which we all know wasn't good, or even how films get an extended edition release after a film has already hit theaters. The most important thing to note here, Zack Snyder's Justice League is not a director's cut. You see, when Snyder left Justice League's production, it was assumed that Warner Brothers and Whedon would finish off the film that Zack had already shot. That's the thing, Zack had already finished principal production on Justice League. And in reality, they spent months reworking his film and then released a Frankenstein's version of the project, when the end result is clearly more Whedon than it is Snyder, meaning that this version, the original version, will remove these said reshoots and restore the film to its proper state. This move by HBO Max, AT&T, and Warner Media, it's unprecedented, as it means, in theory, that a studio is finally choosing art over dollars. Now, of course, to AT&T, it's an incredibly easy way to secure new subscribers for 2021. So in reality, I guess it's a rare moment where artistic freedom and making a good business decision align, because you don't see those very often. It's a studio realizing that they screwed up, and are now giving the original director the chance to finish what he started. And it's also showing that, with enough fan support, art will prevail in the end. Its release doesn't set a bad precedent for entitled fans to complain about whatever they want, because every fandom has, their bad apples. You can just look at Star Wars and Marvel, Game of Thrones, we all got them. Trades can focus and highlight the negativity all they want. It generates clicks after all. I should know. I ran a movie website. The release of the Snyder Cut not only gives power to fans, but it returns power to its director. With the Snyder Cut, it would mark the rare occasion that a studio tells a director, "We're sorry. We're here to make your vision and not one that has to lead into anything else." It's a sense of power that probably would have benefited guys like David Fincher when he was making Alien 3, or Guillermo del Toro when he was crafting the Hobbit films, or most recently Phil Lord and Chris Miller on a solo Star Wars story. Time and time again, we hear about how films today are largely driven by a producer or a studio that wants to replicate the past success of another company. Here, the DCEU is becoming something greater. Much like the comics they're based on, the DCEU is going to act like a sandbox and will instead push for a vast multiverse rather than a hyper-connected universe like the MCU. There's no reason why a Batman film should strive for the same tone as a Shazam film. They can all live in the same DC universe, but be made by directors who have clear and insightful visions for their characters. This is what Zack Snyder wanted from the beginning. After the Justice League fallout, it was clear that DC had kind of caught on to their past mistakes, And it's why we got a 3-hour adventure film in Aquaman, or a family drama with Shazam, or a borderline horrific origin story for the Joker of all people. What Zack Snyder's Justice League represents is a studio renewing its faith in a director. It's a company renewing its faith in a vision that they had originally cast aside, and they are now seeing the error in their ways. It's a newfound freedom for artists in filmmaking, and it's probably shocking that of all people it's Zack Snyder who will reap the initial benefit of all this, but when you look at the bigger picture, it points toward a film industry that is now more accepting of creator-driven projects. And that's what we all want, right? That's what film Twitter constantly complains about day in and day out. We want artists' stamp on films. Which is why I argue against this move by Warner Max and HBO Max giving ultimate power to the fans. What it shows is that they listen to us, which is great, but acting like the Snyder Cut's release is a reward for constant complaining is ludicrous. People act like this is the first time fans have pressured a studio and won, as if they forget every time a fan base has complained about a TV show getting cancelled, and people rallying behind another company to pick it up.
I'm like, wake the fuck up. It's like, yes!
Look, I'm not really sure if this is going to change someone's mind on, their feelings towards Zack Snyder, the DCEU, Justice League as a whole. What I'm trying to say at the end of the day, and what I hope people realize, is that the Snyder Cut represents creative freedom, especially to a guy like Zack Snyder, who has seen most of his films cut up by the very studio he has always worked with. Watchmen, Batman v Superman, and Justice League, all chopped up. And I'm not even saying that the Snyder Cut will be amazing, though my bias for Zack's DCEU films does point to me loving the series. It's absurd for people to say, oh well, the Snyder Cut will be worse, because Justice League was bad, and then what will you do? It's not even about that. This isn't even the point. Whether it's the greatest comic book movie or series of all time, or it's just okay, it's irrelevant at the end of the day. Because the fact of the matter is that at least it will be Zack Snyder's vision, and he finally got to show it. The corporate big shots at Warner Brothers lost. The artists won. This is a win for storytelling and artistic freedom. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I've never made a video essay before, and this was a ton of fun to make. Let me know what you liked, let me know what you didn't like, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.